You're going to be blending an oil kind of like this. You'll see that it has layers. I'll explain that, but this is pretty much what you're going to be blending for anointing. And you're going to want to start with a clean and sanitized glass vial or container. So do you see that clear part at the bottom? That's going to be alcohol. Look at it. That's about how much in terms of proportion you're going to need of your alcohol. You want to go with a clear alcohol of about 80 to 100 proof. I'm going with this Chinese white liquor. And white liquor is considered a way of communing with the gods, of connecting into that magnetic force field and the spirit realm in so many different traditions of witchcraft all around the world. It's actually really interesting. I don't want to spend too much time getting into it, but it just really goes deep. There's really strong compelling significance as to why we use a hard liquor or an alcohol of 80 to 100 proof for a lot of magical workings and in witchcraft. So bottom line for you for now is work with a 80 to 100 clear alcohol, 80 to 100 proof clear alcohol for the blend. And remember, this is how much of the alcohol you're going to want to put into your blend. So personally, I'm a huge proponent of crafting your own essential oils and herb essences. We're not going to do any of that today. This is the really, really quick and easy way, instant, not any sort of hot or cold enfleurage processes that take a month or 3 months. This is the really instant, quick method that's going to be the most accessible for all the people watching this. So what you're going to want to start with is 3 pre-made, prefabricated essential oils. You have to work with 3, not just from a perfumery and aromatherapy perspective, where you have that top note, middle note, or heart note, and the base note, but there's also, of course, as many of you already know, magical significance to the number of 3, the power of the Trinity. This is found in both Eastern forms of witchcraft and Western forms of witchcraft. So you work with 3. Now, the 3 that you use are going to have to, well, they don't have to, but you're going to try to want to work with correspondences to the element that you want to conjure up or amplify in your environment. So remember, for me, the Ace of Pentacles, it was earth. Now you also want to think about elemental dignities so that you can sort of broaden the consideration of essential oils that you use. So for example, if you're working with fire, then you want to avoid essential oils that are water because fire and water conflict, but you want to use air, so fire and air. So essential oils that are either fire or air correspondent are going to work very well together. And so if I'm going with an earth element that I want to amplify, I can work with earth correspondent essential oils, and I can work with water correspondent essential oils, but I want to avoid air because air and earth conflict. I can use fire, but I just want to sort of minimize that or sort of use it sparingly. I want to stick with what is going to alchemically work in most harmony. Okay? So for earth, what I'm going to go with is, for the base note, I'm going with frankincense, and the middle note or heart note, the second one, is myrrh. Now let me explain that. So I'm going with frankincense and myrrh for earth as my base note, and my middle note or heart note, based on Agrippa's correspondences. I think this is 14th century, one of his books. He corresponds these to Saturn, and so Saturn, the base component, is earth. That's why I'm going with these 2, frankincense and myrrh, for my base and middle or heart note correspondingly. Now, for the top note, you want to go with something very, very bright. And even though some people may attribute sweet orange with either fire or air, it does, in Chinese metaphysical correspondences, does lean in toward prosperity and money magic. And so that's the reason I'm using this. But knowing sort of the elemental correspondences in Western alchemy, I'm just going to use it sparingly, which is perfectly fine because this is a top note anyway. So I want to be more heavy with the base note and the middle note being more than the base. And then very few drops at the top is going to be that bright top note, the first hit that you get when you use this blend. So for me, I'm going to use sweet orange. And then after you put it into your blend, you just sort of drip it on top of the alcohol, and then you want to get it up to about here. You see that? And then after that, you top it off with a carrier oil. I like to use jojoba oil as my carrier oil. You can use olive oil, you can use sesame oil. Sesame oil is a very good one if you're working in terms of money magic and for prosperity and manifestation of prosperity and fortunes. I just like jojoba oil because it's, well, actually, it's just what I have on hand, to be completely honest. I'm not going to give you some magical reason for it. I had this on hand, so that's why I'm using it. So then you top it off. So you have that, and then see how it sort of separates, because it's essentially the alcohol and the oil, they do separate like that. And alchemically, you're going to want to emulsify it. So in very sort of, plain terms, shake the hell out of it. So when you shake the hell out of it, it emulsifies. And there's a reason you want to use olive oil and alcohol, or some kind of oil and alcohol. It is because there is an alchemical and magical meaning and reason for using the two and then sort of bringing the two together. So you want to emulsify it before you do any form of anointing. And then once you shake it hard enough, I don't have to shake it that much because I have a very, very small amount. This is what happens. You get a very milky and beautiful, creamy look to it. This is what you want. This is going to be the blend that you use for anointing. So then what you want to do is anoint with the blend both yourself and also the environment around you. That's your personal living space and also your workspace with the blend. And this blend is to conjure up a very potent amount of that specific wavelength in the energetic or magnetic field that corresponds with the tarot card that you've chosen, because that's what you want to manifest. That's a very specific energy, wavelength, or frequency that ultimately corresponds in the physical world with what it is you want to manifest. So for me, it's going to be extra opportunities of financial gain that I hope to seize. Now, a very quick sort of tangent or sidebar. When doing things like, they call it low magic. I don't like using the term low magic because it's sort of, I don't know, I feel like it inserts an unnecessary judgment, so I don't like to use that term. But money magic or prosperity, trying to sort of summon up prosperity in your life, I'm very careful about sort of calibrating it toward drawing in opportunities, and not saying things like, oh, I want 20 bucks, or I want 100 bucks, or I want to make sure, I win the lottery. Like, I don't talk necessarily about the result. Does that make sense? I don't want lump sums of cash or winnings or awards or even say, I want to get my book published. I say I want the opportunity. So I still rely 100% on my own abilities and my talents. And all I'm asking for from the universe, basically what I'm trying to draw, what I'm trying to open the channels to, is opportunity. That's all I want. I just want the opportunity to get where I want to go. So whenever I craft things like this, it's always toward opportunity, not toward the actual gain. So first I'm going to anoint myself. So what I would do is anoint your bare chest and also your forehead and the top of your head. Now, I'm not necessarily going to do that in front of the camera because I don't want to, but basically what you do is, you get some of the blend. I say blend because it's not an oil anymore, it's oil and alcohol, right? So get some of the blend on your fingertips. I use my dominant hand, and so for me, my dominant hand in craft is my left hand, actually, because I'm ambidextrous. So with my left hand, what I would do is, remember my symbol was the pentagram with the circle around it from the Ace of Pentacles. So I would, get some on my hand, and then I would just anoint myself with that. And then I would anoint here as well, and then the top of my head, okay? And so first anoint yourself with the symbol that you've designed, the sigil that represents the specific frequency wavelength that you want to conjure up from the card that you chose. Then what I do is anoint the four corners of every single room on the ground, and also the center midpoint of the doorway of every single room. So for example, in this room, I would get a little bit on my fingertips, go to the floor on the edge of every single corner, and anoint my tarot card symbol, my sigil for the element I want to conjure, in the corner on the floor. It can be small, it's not going to be too large, on the floor of of the four corners of every single room, and then once at the midpoint of the doorway of every single room. And you want to do this for all of the rooms that you live in. You also want to do it for your tabletop. I'm not going to show you my tabletop right now because it's a big hot mess. It's got a lot of junk on there, so I don't want to show it because, you know, mess. But yes, so all workspaces, working tables, anoint the four corners of your table or working space. You can also do it to your altar. Some people don't want to do it to their altar because the altar is, general purpose is the wrong word, but it's sort of specific to the whole of your craft. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very specific, like, you know, so that's why I might not do this to my actual altar, because that I want to sort of keep to oversee my whole life. This is very, very specific. We're talking very specifically about financial gains. So I won't do this to my altar, but I will do it to my office space. I'll do it to my home office space. I'll do it to all working tables. I'll definitely anoint my kitchen table. In Chinese feng shui, the kitchen is linked to your fortunes, and so I would definitely for sure anoint the four corners, or the for me it's the four directional points, because it's a circle. So the just 4 points on your kitchen table. So anoint all of that, and that is going to help conjure up more of the elemental that corresponds with the card that you have chosen to summon and manifest into your life as financial gains and opportunities. Essentially what you've just done, if you followed everything that I said, was perform a divination, but basically a tarot reading where first you looked into the exoteric and you did self-examination on a very sort of analytical level, and you looked into your own inner psychology, and then you went a little bit deeper, immersed deeper into your mindset and started connecting in with your holy guardian angel. I did craft program this course so that if you're taking it and you're working with the methodology I've set out for you, you will connect to your holy guardian angel during the divination process. And then you've learned to sort of see how spirit comes through in the tarot cards. Then you've used divination as a barometer to figure out what it is you need to change, which specific energetic wavelength in your environment needs to change, that you need to sort of seize onto, which string to pull to tap into, so that you can create greater financial gains in your life. Then you follow through and use some forms of witchcraft essentially to harness that, pull that one string to then harness and amplify that one specific magnetic force field, or that wavelength of the magnetic force field, so that you can sort of increase your entire environment and yourself, and calibrate it toward attracting that specific wavelength that represents the financial gains that you're seeking.
For those who were a part of Tarot Summer School 2017 and took my Tarot and Shadow Work course, then recall how we worked with Chinese Qigong and other metaphysical modalities of both inner alchemy and outer alchemy to strengthen particular elementals in your life. You can incorporate what you learned about elemental correspondences from that course here as well to activate the elemental of your magical modification card.
So far, I've lectured about the distinctions I'm making between psychology-based tarot reading and witchcraft in tarot. Then I demonstrated it, or I hoped I was able to show you, and you yourself were able to go through the motions to see for yourself the difference in demonstration of how psychology-based tarot is done versus tarot and witchcraft. If all goes as planned, you've also just cast a spell to invite greater financial gains into your life. I mean, who doesn't want more money? I do want to emphasize a point again, and that is that psychology-based tarot and witchcraft, or occult versions of tarot, is ultimately one and the same. They're just two sides of the same coin. What we've done here is sort of intentionally and forcefully separated them out, deconstructed that one coin, so to speak, so that we can examine each piece. And then at some point when you do performative reading, when you do an actual tarot reading or divination, of course the pieces come back together. But we separated it out for now so we can understand each of the parts.